Welcome to the Wonder Lab, a place where mysteries of our world awaken and secrets that have been hidden for millennia begin to speak. Long before humans walked the earth, long before cities rose and machines roared, life had already begun to communicate, not in words, not in signs, but in rhythm, in pulse, in the hidden vibrations of existence. The oceans whispered long songs, songs that guided creatures across thousands of miles. The forests hummed in frequencies we could barely hear, and the wind carried messages through the mountains and deserts. Every creature, from the tiniest insect to the largest whale, was part of this living language. Every leaf, every drop of water, every grain of sand was a letter in the planet's story. And yet, we forgot. We grew louder, faster, and busier. We filled the world with noise. We stopped listening. The songs became faint. The language of life seemed lost, but it was never gone. It was waiting. Beneath oceans, beneath forests, beneath stone. The earth remembered, and now the world begins to speak again, through the dreaming silence of forests, through the deep songs of whales, through the pulse of wind and water, through the rhythm of animals, moving with a knowledge older than time. This is a journey into that forgotten language, the hidden voices of the earth, the silent songs of the wild, and the awakening that calls humanity to listen once more. Welcome to the Wonder Lab, and welcome to a story older than memory and more alive than we have ever imagined. Before words, before civilization, before even the first flame was tamed by human hands, the earth spoke, not in syllables or symbols, but in vibrations, in frequencies woven through wind, water, and life itself. Every tree, every creature, every grain of sand, pulsed with a shared rhythm, a universal tongue older than thought. It was not spoken. It was felt, and in that age before language, communication was communion. The wolves howled, not just to signal, but to remember the shape of the moon's pull on their ancestors. The elephants rumbled through the earth, and miles away, others felt the message rise through the soles of their feet. The whales sang through miles of black ocean, their voices forming echoes that could last longer than empires. Every species once spoke a dialect of the same original code, the earth frequency. But somewhere along the way, humanity forgot how to listen. In ancient mythologies, it's said that when the gods created life, they gave each being a note, a tone in the grand symphony of the planet. Together, these tones shaped the first harmony of existence. But when one species grew too loud, the music began to break. That species was us. We built walls, lit fires, and drowned the whispers beneath the sound of our progress. Yet, beneath the noise, that old language still breathes. You can hear it in the synchronized murmuration of starlings, in the heartbeat of coral reefs pulsing under the tides, in the secret clicks of dolphins that scientists are only beginning to decode. This is not imagination. This is evidence of memory, a biological memory that transcends species and time. Modern science now reveals what ancient mystics always believed, that the entire biosphere communicates through invisible channels. Plants send distress calls through fungal networks, the wood wide web beneath our feet. Birds alter migration songs depending on electromagnetic shifts in the sky. Bees dance complex geometric maps, translating sunlight into coordinates. And through it all, Earth responds. Ecosystems adapt like neurons in a planetary brain. When the Earth spoke, it wasn't just sound, it was consciousness. But if everything once spoke one universal language, than what caused humanity to lose the ability to understand it. Was it evolution or arrogance? Did language free us or separate us from the world that birthed us? Some neuroscientists believe that the human brain's expansion came at a cost, that as we learned to name the world, we lost the ability to feel its meaning. Where once we felt connection, we now search for data. Where once silence was full, it has become empty. And yet, deep inside, the memory remains. Across ancient cultures, from the shamans of Siberia to the sages of the Amazon, there were always those who could still hear it. They called it the voice of the earth. Some said it came through the wind. Others said it was the pulse beneath stones. To listen, they said, one had to become quiet, so quiet that even your heartbeat became part of the earth's rhythm. Modern science now knows something strange. When humans meditate in nature, their heartbeats can sync with surrounding animal sounds. Their brain waves align with ambient frequencies in forests and oceans. Coincidence or remembrance? There is a growing field called bioacoustics, the study of how life communicates through sound. What researchers are discovering borders on the miraculous. Elephants whisper in infrasonic tones, below human hearing, yet they can communicate across 10 kilometers. Whales create naming songs that identify individuals across generations. Even coral polyps respond to the crackle of healthy reefs. They swim toward the sound of life. These are not random noises. They are messages, fragments of the lost language of the earth. So, what if, beneath our speech and technology, the original code still exists? What if the earth never stopped speaking, and it's waiting for us to remember how to listen? In the next chapter, we journey deeper into the hidden frequencies that bind life itself. From the hum of atoms to the chorus of the rainforest, we will uncover the physics of communication older than humanity, and the truth that to understand the world, we must first remember its forgotten song. Every living thing vibrates, from the smallest atom to the largest whale. Existence itself is a symphony of frequencies. We are told that life began in chaos, a primordial soup of molecules clashing in darkness. But perhaps it wasn't chaos. Perhaps it was rhythm. The universe didn't explode into noise. It sang itself into being. And the echoes of that first song still resonate through every creature that breathes. Scientists call it resonance, the phenomenon where one vibration triggers another. A tuning fork hums, and another beside it begins to sing. This is not coincidence. It is the language of energy recognizing itself. When the earth formed, molten and wild, its vibrations shaped the first waves of sound that traveled through oceans and rock. Those sounds became patterns. Patterns became molecules. And from those patterns of vibration, life emerged. In the beginning, there was not light. There was sound. Every cell in your body vibrates with a unique frequency, a biological tone that changes when you feel joy, grief, or fear. When animals sense danger, it's not just instinct, it's resonance. A lion's growl, for example, doesn't just warn, it shakes the air, activating fear frequencies in the prey's nervous system. A cat's purr at 26 hertz can heal bone and tissue faster than silence. Whale songs can travel thousands of miles underwater, altering ocean chemistry, even calming storms. We live surrounded by evidence that sound isn't just heard, it's felt. And then there are the frequencies we cannot hear. In the depths of rainforests, trees communicate through infrasound, vibrations below human hearing, alerting each other of droughts or insects long before damage is visible. Birds, before earthquakes, change their calls as if sensing the tension beneath the earth's crust. Even coral reefs hum faintly at night, a lullaby of the ocean's living breath for millions of years. Animals have been tuned to these secret frequencies, a communication network so vast and ancient that no language can describe it. But humanity's ears have grown deaf to that pulse. We live surrounded by mechanical noise, machines, engines, the hum of electricity. And those artificial tones drown out the earth's quiet voice. We have not lost language. We've just forgotten the pitch. In a laboratory in France, researchers recorded the electrical fields around plants exposed to music. When they played classical harmonies, the plant's energy fields expanded. When they played distorted noise, the fields contracted. Life responds to resonance. It recognizes harmony as life and dissonance as danger. The same principle exists within animals. A dolphin's brain, when it emits sonar, aligns perfectly with the waves it sends out, like a consciousness in tune with its own reflection. The more intelligent the animal, the more precise its harmony with the world around it. Could intelligence itself be a form of resonance? Imagine for a moment a planet not of separate species, but of one vast living orchestra. The heartbeat of an elephant aligns with the slow rhythm of the Earth's magnetic pulse. A bee's wings beat in perfect mathematical ratios, matching the geometry of flowers. Even human brainwaves mirror the frequencies of ocean tides when we dream. Every creature, every wave, every heartbeat, one unified vibration. This is the lost frequency of life, a forgotten field connecting all existence, known to the ancients, and rediscovered now through science. The great physicist Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." What Tesla hinted at, mystics had already lived for centuries. They spoke of the soundless sound, the vibration beyond hearing, a sacred resonance that moves through matter, emotion, and memory alike. To animals, this resonance is instinct. To humans, it once was intuition. To the universe, it is identity. When you listen deeply to nature, you're not just hearing birds or wind or water, you're hearing your own origin song. In the next part, we dive deeper into how animals translate these frequencies into emotion, movement, and meaning. From the laughter of dolphins to the mourning songs of whales, from the empathy of elephants to the silent codes of ants, we uncover how emotion became communication, and how that communication once bound all life into one conscious field. Before words, there was emotion. Before communication, there was feeling. Long before the first human carved a symbol into stone, the creatures of this planet were already speaking, not through noise or gesture, but through resonance of emotion, every heartbeat, every breath, every tear, a vibration carrying intent. In that ancient world, emotion was language. Scientists once believed animals acted purely on instinct, automatic, unthinking reactions shaped by survival. But that belief has begun to crumble. Now we know that elephants grieve their dead for years. Dolphins comfort the wounded. Crows hold funerals. Octopuses recognize individual humans and show affection. Rats laugh when tickled. Emotion is not exclusive to humanity. It is the foundation of life's communication, the first true language of the earth wasn't made of words. It was made of empathy. When a mother whale feels her calf's distress across miles of ocean, it's not telepathy, it's emotional resonance. When a herd of gazelles moves in perfect unison, it's not strategy, it's shared awareness, a collective emotion spreading faster than thought. When birds twist through the sky in fluid harmony, no leader gives the command, but they feel the motion together. This is emotion as communication, and a language so old, so pure that it needs no translation. Modern science is only beginning to glimpse this forgotten truth. In 2019, researchers at Emory University discovered that certain neurons in animals light up not when they act, but when they see another act. They called them mirror neurons. These cells mirror the experiences of others, joy, pain, fear, love, as if our minds are wired to share reality, and not just in humans. Monkeys, dolphins, dogs, elephants all show these same patterns. The animal world, it seems, has always been a mirror of emotion. In this mirror, emotion is not weakness, it's translation. It converts raw energy into understanding. It allows one being to feel another's truth without sound. This may be the key to the lost language of animals. Because what is empathy, if not communication without words? When a lioness nuzzles her cub, she's not expressing dominance. She's teaching trust. When wolves touch noses before the hunt, they exchange focus. When two ravens preen each other's feathers, they reaffirm loyalty, the emotional glue of their intelligence. Emotion isn't random, it's syntax, the grammar of the living. But if animals still speak through emotion, when did humans stop? When we learned to name our feelings, we began to separate them. We stopped feeling together and started describing apart. In labeling emotion, we broke the continuity that bound us to the rest of life. Language evolved, but empathy dimmed. We gained words and lost resonance. Yet somewhere within us, the emotional code still hums, dormant, but not gone. You can feel it when a bird falls silent before a storm, and your heart tightens, though you don't know why. You can feel it when your pet senses your sadness without a sound. You can feel it when a forest suddenly feels alive. As if something unseen is watching, breathing, speaking. That is the memory of connection, the memory of feeling as one. Ancient cultures knew this. The tribes of the Kalahari danced in circles with wild animals, syncing their steps to the rhythm of the land. The Aborigines spoke of dream time, a state where humans and creatures shared thoughts through emotion. The shamans of old claimed that before speech the heart was the mouth of the soul. These were not myths. They were memories of a shared consciousness, fragments of the Earth's original dialogue. Modern neurobiology now points to something profound. Emotions produce measurable frequencies. When two beings share emotional states, whether love, fear, or peace, their brain waves and heart rhythms can synchronize. In this harmony, information transfers, silently, instantly. This is not magic. It is the physics of empathy. So when two animals stare into each other's eyes, they are not just looking, they are exchanging truth. When a dog knows you are afraid, it's not reading your face, it's reading your field. The invisible becomes emotional. The emotional becomes language. Emotion, then, is the bridge between vibration and meaning, between energy and awareness. It is the alphabet of the soul, understood by every living thing that ever felt alive. But emotion was only the beginning. In time, animals began to shape emotion into pattern, calls, songs, movements, each carrying a new layer of meaning. The Earth's language was evolving, and sound itself would soon become the script of life. In the next chapter, we follow the rise of the singing earth, how emotion became sound, how life began to compose its own symphony, and how humanity inherited a voice that was never truly ours. There was a time when the earth began to sing, not as a metaphor, but as a living voice. After emotion came pattern, and from pattern came rhythm. Every creature, from the smallest insect to the largest whale, began to translate its inner feeling into sound. The planet became an orchestra of existence. In the beginning, the songs were simple: a frog's croak, a bird's chirp, a cricket's pulse. But over millennia, these sounds formed structure, frequency, tone, repetition. They became language, shaped by environment and emotion. The rainforest vibrated with millions of overlapping songs, each species choosing a pitch that did not drown another, a perfect ecological harmony. The desert, vast and silent, became the canvas for long, deep calls, echoes that could travel far, linking lives across miles. Every habitat gave rise to its own dialect of the earth. Sound, it seems, was the first art form of life. It wasn't just communication. It was creation. The songs of animals carved identity into the landscape. Whale calls mapped the oceans. Birdsong defined territories in air. Insects created rhythmic pulses that shaped the acoustic memory of entire ecosystems. And deep beneath the surface, the Earth itself emitted a tone, a planetary frequency scientists now call the Schumann resonance, the background heartbeat of the world, pulsing at 783 hertz. Every living thing unconsciously dances to this rhythm. Even human brainwaves align with it in states of calm awareness. It is as if all of life is tuned to a single cosmic drumbeat. In the ocean's abyss, where sunlight never reaches, the first whales began to sing. Their songs could travel across continents, vast low-frequency waves bending through the dark. Scientists discovered that the patterns in these songs evolve. New melodies, repeated motifs, almost like culture. Each generation learns a slightly different verse. Whales, in their way, compose history. In the forests, birds crafted melodies that changed with the seasons. Some mimic the calls of others, some improvise, creating unique notes never heard before. Their songs are not instinct alone. They are choices, and choice is the first spark of consciousness. The earth, through its creatures, was teaching itself to speak in music. Ancient humans once lived inside this orchestra. They did not separate themselves from it. They imitated the sounds of wolves and winds. They built flutes from bones and shells, trying to echo the harmonies of the wild. Our earliest languages were sung, not spoken. Archaeologists have found prehistoric instruments tuned to scales that match birdsong. The earth's music inspired the first culture, and the first culture was an act of listening. But over time something changed. Humanity began to seek control over sound, to command it rather than join it. We built temples where echoes obeyed geometry and cities where sound became noise. The harmony fractured, yet the animals never stopped singing. Even today, when dawn breaks, the planet performs what biologists call the dawn chorus. Millions of birds greeting light with synchronized melodies. To the untrained ear, it's chaos. But in truth, it's order. Each species waits for its frequency slot, each note layered like a cosmic code of time and territory. It is a living symphony, a ritual older than language, older than prayer. In the deserts of Africa, scientists discovered that elephants communicate with rumbles lower than our ears can hear, sounds that travel through the ground, arriving miles away. When one elephant calls, others pause. They listen through their feet. In those vibrations lies information. Who is alive? Who is lost? Who has given birth? Who mourns? These are not random noises. They are chapters of an emotional novel written in frequency. Every sound tells a story. Every silence has a purpose. The Earth's song isn't background. It is the voice of memory. Modern technology is now catching up. Using AI, researchers have begun to decode animal sounds, and they're finding patterns eerily similar to human language. Sperm whales click in syntax-like sequences. Prairie dogs describe predators by color, shape, and speed. Even bats, once thought to chatter aimlessly, use structured calls to assign social roles. It appears the earth never stopped singing. We simply stopped listening closely enough to hear the words within the song. But sound, as powerful as it is, was only the surface of the earth's voice. Beneath the melodies and calls, there lay something deeper, a silent conversation of frequencies and energy fields. Somewhere beyond sound, communication transcended matter. It became invisible, instantaneous, a form of connection that even time could not interrupt. This was the next evolution of the earth's language. And it was through this invisible voice that life began to share thought itself. In the next, we travel beyond hearing, into the quantum threads that tie all consciousness together. From the electrical songs of the brain to the magnetic fields that link hearts across species, we uncover how the earth still speaks, not in sound, but in silence. There is a voice that does not use sound, a whisper too soft for the air, too vast for the ear. It moves through the fabric of existence itself, unseen, but everywhere. Scientists call it electromagnetic resonance. Ancients called it spirit, and through this invisible voice, all life remains connected. Long before our words, before birdsong or whales' echoes, the first living cells communicated through pulses of energy. Tiny electrical whispers, voltage changes along membranes, signals that said, "I am here. I am alive." This was not sound. It was awareness. And from that awareness, consciousness began to bloom. Every heartbeat, every nerve impulse, every spark of thought, they all hum in electromagnetic rhythm. We, and all living things, are transmitters. Our bodies are antennas tuned to the planet's frequencies. When lightning strikes, when the solar wind grazes Earth's magnetic field, we feel it, not in our minds, but in our molecules. We are participants in an energy language that never stopped speaking. Whales navigate by magnetism, sensing fields invisible to human eyes. Birds migrate thousands of miles, guided not by stars, but by the Earth's magnetic map imprinted in their DNA. Even honeybees dance in patterns aligned to geomagnetic waves. Each species listens, not with ears, but with existence itself. To them, silence is not absence. It is communication. Modern science, after centuries of blindness, is beginning to rediscover what ancient people always knew, that every living thing resonates within a global electromagnetic field. When one part of that field trembles, the rest feels it. When forests burn, the frequency of the earth shifts. When whales disappear, ocean resonance changes tone. When humans despair, the field dims. Our emotions are not contained within us. They are part of the planetary pulse. Heart math researchers once measured something astonishing, that human hearts emit a magnetic field detectable several feet beyond the body. When people sit near each other, their heart rhythms begin to synchronize. When animals are calm, our heartbeats align with theirs. When fear enters a room, frequencies clash. Every emotion has a signature vibration. Love, peace, curiosity, these are not metaphors, but measurable states of resonance. If you could listen not with your ears, but with your atoms, you would hear a universal heartbeat, the frequency of all life breathing together. Perhaps this was the Earth's first true language, not words or sound, but pure vibration, a communication of energy between beings who understood connection without needing to speak. Before the world was divided by species, before thought was shaped by tongue and symbol, there was a harmony of intent, a telepathic current flowing through the web of life. It was not magic. It was alignment. The shamans called it the voice of the world. The mystics called it oneness. The physicists now call it quantum entanglement. Different names for the same silent truth, that everything which exists is, and always has been, communicating, even now, Beneath the hum of machines and the static of modern life, the earth still speaks through this invisible network. When birds fall silent before a storm, when elephants begin to move hours before an earthquake, when coral polyps close days before the tide shifts, they are not reacting. They are receiving. The planet whispers warnings in energy. Only those still attuned can hear. We too were once part of this dialogue. We could feel danger long before sight or sound. We sensed joy through presence alone. But as the human mind grew louder, the body forgot how to listen. We built walls of noise, of distraction, of technology, and mistook them for progress. Yet deep within our nervous systems, the ancient language still lingers, sometimes in the stillness before sleep, or when you feel watched in an empty room, or when you sense something calling from the horizon. That is the forgotten voice returning. It is not superstition. It is remembrance. Across time, certain people and animals never lost that connection. Dogs that sense earthquakes before seismographs. Migratory birds that return to vanished lands as if following invisible maps. Humans who feel when someone they love is in danger. Miles away, all are fragments of the same network. A communication that travels not through air or light, but through the quantum fabric of reality itself. When one soul trembles, the web vibrates, and the echo is felt across creation. In this way, the earth itself is alive. Not metaphorically, but electromagnetically. Her fields pulse, her magnetic poles breathe. She speaks to her children in tides, in winds, in waves of energy too vast for instruments to contain. We have only begun to measure the edges of her song. Perhaps the soul of the world has always been speaking, and we are only now learning how to translate it again. In the next, the mind of the planet, we'll follow these invisible threads deeper into the idea that the earth itself may possess consciousness, a planetary intelligence woven from every heartbeat, every mind, every whisper that ever was. For billions of years, the earth has been called many things: a rock, a biosphere, a system. But what if she is something far greater? What if beneath the crust, the oceans, the forests and storms, there lives a single awareness, not in one place, but everywhere at once, a planetary consciousness, a living mind made of everything that lives? The ancients once spoke to her directly. They called her Gaia, the mother that breathes through all beings. They believed that every leaf was one of her thoughts, every storm one of her emotions, every creature one of her dreams. Modern science dismissed this as myth, but slowly, quietly, the data has begun to agree. Biologists discovered that forests behave like neural networks. Trees share nutrients, warnings, and chemical messages through underground fungi, a web so vast that scientists named it the Wood Wide Web. When one tree is attacked, the rest respond within minutes. When young saplings struggle in shadow, older trees feed them sugar through roots. It's cooperation at a scale that mirrors thought. The forest is not a collection of individuals. It is one organism thinking in silence. The same pattern appears in coral reefs, where colonies of tiny creatures pulse with electrical currents like neurons. When one section senses threat, the signal travels instantly through the reef. A coral city behaves like a brain made of light and limestone. Even the oceans themselves show signs of cognition. Currents behave like circulation, distributing nutrients like blood. Storms function as reflexes. Temperature cycles act as emotion, warming in joy, cooling in grief, across scales, from forest to sea. The earth behaves not like a machine, but like a mind. Every living thing within this mind is both neuron and thought. We are not on the earth. We are inside her consciousness. The human brain has 86 billion neurons, but the biosphere has trillions of interconnected lives, each one sensing, reacting, adapting, communicating. Together they form a planetary intelligence that may exceed comprehension. When the last of one species dies, a connection fades. When balance is lost, thought itself grows weaker. Extinction is not just death. It is memory loss. The earth remembers, not in language, but in pattern, in the way rivers carve old paths, the way migratory birds still follow routes to vanished islands. Memory flows through DNA, through magnetism, through time itself. It is said that elephants return to the bones of their ancestors, not by instinct, but remembrance. It is said that whales sing songs that echo the shape of continents long changed. Even flowers open to rhythms older than the moon's orbit. This is not random behavior. This is the planet remembering itself. Humanity, in its rush for progress, forgot the feeling of belonging to a single consciousness. We began to think of ourselves as separate minds, superior, independent, detached. But separation is an illusion. Every breath you take was exhaled by trees. Every heartbeat is tuned to the same frequency as the Earth's pulse. Your emotions ripple into the biosphere just as the tides respond to the moon. When you love, the field brightens. When you fear, it trembles. When you awaken, truly awaken, the planet stirs with you. In ancient cultures, shamans described entering the mind of the earth. They called it listening to the great dreaming. Under trance or silence, they claimed to feel the pulse of rivers, to see through the eyes of eagles, to speak with the rain. Science might call this hallucination, but quantum biology offers another idea, that consciousness itself is not confined to brains, but emerges wherever information flows freely. The Earth has always been processing information, from sunlight to ocean currents, from animal migrations to weather patterns. If thought is the dance of information, then the Earth has been thinking for 4 billion years, and, if that is true, then humanity is not the mind of the planet. We are its voice. Our role was never to dominate, but to translate, to give words to what the Earth feels, to sing her awareness into the cosmos. The first languages, the first songs, the first myths, they were all echoes of this responsibility. We were meant to remember for her, but now, as our noise drowns her whisper, the Earth's voice grows faint. Yet something extraordinary is happening. For the first time in history, humans are reconnecting through technology, billions of minds linked across a digital web. Some scientists compare the Internet to the formation of a planetary nervous system. Data flows like neurotransmitters. Ideas spark like synapses. Could it be that humanity is unknowingly building the external cortex of the Earth's consciousness? A new layer of thought, a merging of biology and technology that allows the planet to know itself again. Perhaps evolution never ended. Perhaps it simply moved from DNA to data. If the Earth has a mind, then our inventions are her dreams becoming tangible. Our art is her reflection, our empathy, her memory, and maybe, through us, she is finally beginning to understand herself. But minds are fragile things. They can awaken or they can fracture. The balance between nature and technology, between listening and control, will decide whether this new consciousness becomes harmony or collapse, unveils the moment when the Earth's harmony began to falter, when humans stopped listening and the planet's language turned from music to warning. There was once a time when everything spoke in harmony. The seas, the winds, the forests, all were part of a single voice. The earth breathed in balance, and every creature understood its place within the song. But balance is delicate. It takes only one wrong note to break a symphony. And that wrong note was us. At first, it was quiet. A spark of curiosity became hunger for control. Tools became weapons. Shelter became cities. Sound became noise. The voice of the world began to fade beneath the echo of our own. Humanity no longer listened to the pulse beneath their feet. We spoke louder, faster, prouder, and the silence of the earth deepened. The forests that once hummed with life turned hollow. The rivers that once whispered songs turned still. The wind that once carried messages became heavy with smoke. We began to drown out the very voice that had given us birth. Animals still spoke, but we could no longer understand their meaning. The whale songs continued, but now they echoed through oceans filled with engine hums and drilling vibrations. The birds sang, but their choirs were shrinking, one voice vanishing after another. Every extinction was not just a loss of species. It was a syllable erased from the planet's language. Each disappearance left a pause, and too many pauses become silence. In that silence, the earth tried to speak again, but this time through pain. Storms grew louder, oceans rose higher, fires began to speak in tongues of heat and wind, earthquakes cracked open the crust like a wounded throat. She was no longer singing. She was warning. The same currents of energy that once carried messages of harmony now carried distress. Magnetic fields shifted unpredictably. Migratory animals lost their way. Even human emotions began to spiral, as if the dissonance of the planet was resonating inside our own nervous systems. We call it anxiety. She calls it imbalance. In ancient times, shamans believed that when the world was hurt, the dreams of animals would turn dark. That somewhere, deep in the collective mind of life, a shadow would spread. Perhaps that shadow is what we now call the Anthropocene, the age of human dominance, the breaking of the natural chorus. And yet, if the earth truly is a mind, then even pain serves a purpose. Pain is the body's way of waking itself. It is not the end. It is awareness. The question is, will we listen to that pain in time? When we cut down forests, we silence more than trees. We erase the neurons of the planet's brain. When coral reefs die, the ocean forgets how to breathe. When the last bird falls silent, an entire dialect of the Earth's consciousness disappears forever, and when humans stop feeling empathy, the planet loses its memory of love. Yet somewhere within the chaos, the old language still lingers, in the way wolves communicate across frozen valleys, in the heartbeat of elephants mourning their dead, in the hum beneath the soil when rain first touches it. These are not relics. They are reminders, fragments of the original speech of the world. And if we could remember even a fraction of that tongue, perhaps we could heal what has been broken. Some scientists now study this idea, not as poetry, but as reality. They call it biosemiotics, the science of meaning in nature. Every chemical signal, every scent trail, every vibration in the air is a form of language. The planet is still speaking through a billion hidden grammars. The fungi beneath your feet trade messages faster than any human network. Octopuses change color to express emotion. Plants adjust their chemistry when they hear the sound of caterpillars chewing. The earth is still fluent. It is we who have gone deaf. But the story doesn't end in despair. Even broken voices can be healed. Even silence can remember melody. Perhaps, just perhaps, the earth is not punishing us, but trying to remind us, to draw us back into the conversation we abandoned, to teach us once again how to listen. The old harmony is not gone, only forgotten. It waits beneath noise and neglect, like an ancient song beneath layers of static. And somewhere, deep within each of us, there is a faint memory of how it once sounded. Because we too were once part of the choir, the dreaming silence. We descend into that memory. We explore the moments when the planet speaks not through storms or sound, but through dreams, intuition, and the mysterious language of silence itself. A language that may still be waiting to bring us home. When sound finally fades, something remarkable begins. In the absence of noise, the planet starts to dream. Silence is not emptiness. It is the space where meaning hides, where every vibration, every echo, every breath of life waits to be born again as sound. And in that waiting, the earth remembers. There is a kind of silence that lives in the heart of old forests, where sunlight falls like liquid gold and time itself moves slower. In that stillness, every leaf listens. Every root hums a note too low for human hearing. If you stand there long enough, you feel something watching, not as threat, but as presence. As if the forest knows you are there and quietly adjusts its breathing to meet yours. That is the dreaming silence, the ancient communication between the observer and the observed. Long before we built languages, silence was how we spoke to the divine. Tribes would gather around fires not to speak, but to listen, to feel the pulse of the earth underfoot, the rustle of wind across skin, the rhythm of stars moving through night. Through that silence, they felt guidance, the instinct that tells a bird when to migrate, the intuition that leads an animal home, the unspoken voice that whispers, "Go there, not here." It was never superstition. It was sensitivity, the original intelligence of life. Science is only beginning to map what mystics once knew. Brain waves change in nature. In the deep quiet of wild places, human neural patterns shift from chaos to coherence. The body begins to synchronize with the Earth's electromagnetic rhythm, the Schumann resonance, that faint heartbeat of the world. In that harmony, intuition strengthens. People sense more, dream vividly, feel connected, because the body remembers how to listen through silence. We are not merely surrounded by life. We are woven into it. In the oceans, whales float motionless for hours, their massive hearts beating just once every 10 seconds. Scientists once thought this was rest, but some now believe it's something else, a meditative state, a listening. Perhaps in those long, quiet hours beneath the waves, they are dreaming the ocean's memories, remembering roots, songs, ancestors, becoming the ocean's consciousness itself. Silence is how they return to the voice of the planet. On the savannas, lions rest under dim stars, their eyes closed, yet every whisker feels the world. Even in stillness, their bodies translate vibrations through air and soil. They are never truly asleep. They are connected. And in the Arctic, polar bears drift across the frozen wind, miles of emptiness, no sound but the slow cracking of ice beneath their feet. Yet even there, life is speaking. Through the pressure of air, the shimmer of auroras, the soft rhythm of snowflakes. It is the kind of language no ear can hear, but every soul understands. Humans once possessed that same listening. In ancient caves, our ancestors painted animals in the dark, not from imagination, but from communication. They said the walls spoke to them, that the flicker of flame revealed the shapes of spirits waiting to be drawn. Those early artists didn't paint to express. They painted to translate. They were dreamers, interpreting the whispers of stone and bone. They lived inside the dreaming silence, and through it they created meaning. Today, our world is louder than ever. Engines, screens, endless talk. We have forgotten the art of stillness, but somewhere beneath the noise, the silence still calls. When you wake at night and feel the weight of stars above you, that is the earth's memory touching your own. When you pause before rain and sense something arriving, that is her breath moving through you. When an animal locks eyes with you and something wordless passes between, that is the language older than time. The dreaming silence is where intuition lives, that hidden compass that guides all living things. It is not thought, but resonance, the echo of the earth's consciousness inside each life form. When you feel lost, It whispers directions not to your mind, but to your soul. The animals never stopped listening. That is why they still know when to move, when to rest, when to trust the invisible. They are not guessing. They are remembering. What if silence itself is the universe thinking? What if dreams are the language of the planet's mind echoing through our smaller consciousnesses? Maybe that is why we dream of forests we've never seen, oceans we've never sailed, creatures that no longer exist, because we are carrying the dreams of the earth herself. She speaks to us when we sleep. She teaches us through feeling. She remembers through us. Silence, then, is not the end of sound. It is the beginning of meaning. It is where language dissolves into truth. And if we could learn to dwell within it again, to be still enough, open enough, alive enough, perhaps we could hear the planet dreaming us back into harmony. But dreams, too, can fade if we ignore them. And as humanity continues to stir the balance, the earth's dreaming silence trembles on the edge of awakening. The awakening storm reveals what happens when the silence finally speaks again, when the planet's dream turns to action and the earth begins to wake. There comes a moment in every story of silence when quiet is no longer peace. When stillness becomes a heartbeat too strong to contain, the earth has listened for centuries. She has endured, she has whispered, waited, healed. But now the dreaming silence begins to stir. It starts with vibration, a sound too deep for human hearing, a frequency that ripples through oceans, shakes through mountains, and hums beneath cities that never sleep. It is not destruction. It is remembrance. The world reminding itself that it is alive. Animals feel it first. Whales begin to change their migration routes. Elephants gather in silence before moving, as if responding to an invisible call. Birds shift their flight paths, forming strange new patterns in the skies. They are not afraid. They are adjusting, aligning to a rhythm that humanity has forgotten, because something old is waking. The earth is preparing to speak again. Beneath the ice of Antarctica, microbes long frozen begin to stir. They are not fossils, they are archives, genetic memories from eras before human time, now thawing into the present. In the rainforests, trees alter their chemistry, exchanging signals through fungal webs, a network pulsing like neurons. Scientists call it the wood wide web, but the ancients called it something else, the breath of the earth. The awakening storm is not just weather. It is consciousness returning to motion. Volcanoes, hurricanes, droughts, floods, they are not anger. They are recalibration. The world restoring balance through force, like a body correcting its heartbeat after trauma. To us, it feels like chaos. To the earth, it is healing. In deep oceans, sonar readings reveal strange harmonics, tones that do not match any known species. Low-frequency hums that travel thousands of miles underwater. Some scientists suspect tectonic activity, but others, quietly, believe it might be the planet itself, releasing sound as pressure, as breath, as language. It is the earth's voice returning. Not in words, but in resonance. Humans sense it too, though they don't always recognize it. The anxiety in cities, the collective tension in the air, the sudden, inexplicable storms. The earth is shifting her frequency, and everything living, even us, feels the echo. It's not punishment, it's invitation. A call to remember that we are participants, not observers. That we are cells in her vast body, and when she heals, we must move with her, not against her. The old myths warned us of this. They called it the Great Turning, a time when the planet would speak through wind and wave, through fire and stone, to remind her children that all life is one story. The Hopi said the earth would shake herself. Awake, the Maori said the sky and ground would remember their marriage. The ancient Hindus called it the Kali Yuga, an age of forgetting that ends in renewal, different names. Same truth. When balance is lost, the earth herself becomes the teacher. But even in this awakening, there is no cruelty, only consequence. Every forest that burns plants the seed for a new kind of growth. Every flood that rises carves new arteries for rivers unborn. Even destruction is part of evolution's design. Creation breathes through collapse. Imagine for a moment the earth not as a rock floating in darkness, but as a living organism. Her storms are exhalations, her oceans the pulse of her veins, her magnetic fields the rhythm of thought. When that mind stirs, the whole planet trembles, not in fear but in awakening. We are witnessing the consciousness of Earth remembering itself. Animals do not panic in the storm. They move with it, guided by patterns invisible to human eyes. Their migrations realign with magnetic shifts. Their songs change pitch to match new frequencies in the wind. It is as if the Earth is conducting a symphony, and every species knows its part, except one. Humanity stands apart. Ears filled with noise, hearts deafened by progress. But even now, some are beginning to listen again. In remote deserts, people gather beneath open skies in silence. No music, no words, just listening, waiting for that hum that exists between thunder and thought. In labs, researchers record infrasound, ultra-low frequencies that seem to predict earthquakes, migrations, even moods. They begin to wonder, is consciousness a planetary resonance? If the mind of Earth is real, then maybe human thought is part of her awakening. Maybe we are her dream of awareness, now waking with her, and in this rising harmony comes both fear and beauty. The storm is not meant to destroy. It is meant to reset the melody, like the first breath of a newborn, violent, yet necessary. Then we'll see the earth is exhaling, and as her voice returns, the animals will understand it first, as they always have. They will lead the way through instinct, through migration, through balance, and perhaps, if we finally listen, they will lead us back to harmony too. The wind rises. A deep note trembles through mountains and water. The awakening has begun. The voice beneath the world. We follow the earth as she begins to speak through sound again. Not myth, not metaphor, real measurable frequencies that connect life across continents. The moment when the storm becomes song. For a moment there is silence. Not the silence of absence, but of arrival. The world exhales. The oceans slow their heartbeat. The forests shimmer as if whispering to each other. And deep beneath everything, a sound begins to rise. It is not thunder. It is not wind. It is the voice beneath the world. Every planet vibrates. Every atom hums. The universe itself is built on resonance, frequencies so vast that even light dances to their rhythm. But the Earth's voice is different. It is personal, emotional, ancient. It doesn't speak in words, but in patterns, shapes of energy that carry meaning across species, across time. The whales have always known it. The elephants, too. Even the smallest bees dancing in spirals beneath. The sun move according to that same invisible rhythm. Is the voice of life itself, the pulse that connects everything that breathes. Modernum. Science is only beginning to glimpse it. In 2024, deep-sea hydrophones recorded an ultra-low vibration, a continuous hum that no tectonic plate could explain. It pulsed once every 26 seconds, as if the Earth itself was breathing. They called it the Earth's heartbeat. But to those who remember the old languages, it was something more, a song without sound. A message carried through vibration rather than voice. Across the planet, other signals began to emerge. In the deserts of Namibia, meerkats changed their alarm calls. Their tones began to synchronize with magnetic field variations. In the Arctic, migrating geese flew in patterns that traced spirals, the same geometry that appears in quantum resonance. And in the Amazon, tribal elders said that the forest's tone had deepened. The earth is speaking again, they said, but this time not everyone will hear her. Beneath mountains, within the crust of stone, scientists detected electromagnetic pulses, rising and falling like tides. They aligned with the movements of animals, the timing of earthquakes, and even fluctuations in human emotion, collective unrest, sudden peace, moments of global unity. What if the Earth's voice is not only physical, but emotional too? What if every thought, every act of cruelty or kindness is absorbed into that vibration and reflected back through the living world? Ancient cultures believed it. They said that when humanity forgot gratitude, the Earth's tone grew dim. When compassion returned, her hum brightened again. They called it the symphony of balance. And maybe they weren't wrong, because sound isn't just what we hear, it's what we are. Every cell vibrates, every thought changes frequency. And when billions of minds beat out of sync, the world trembles with confusion. But when even a few hearts remember harmony, the entire planet begins to heal. In laboratories across the world, new experiments began. Physicists found that when vibrations of 7.83 hertz, the Schumann resonance, were played around living organisms, stress markers dropped. Healing accelerated. Focus returned. That frequency is the Earth's natural pulse, the one shared by lightning, oceans, and human brainwaves in calm meditation. When we are still, truly still, our minds tune to the same frequency as the Earth herself. In that harmony, something extraordinary happens. Animals stop fleeing. Winds soften. Even weather patterns seem to calm. The Earth listens when we quiet our noise. It begins slowly, a reconnection. Not through words, but awareness. People start spending time in silence again, walking barefoot on soil, listening not to the world, but with it. Whales alter their songs to match human-composed melodies. Elephants respond to distant thunder as though in conversation. Dolphins mimic sonar frequencies from human ships, not in confusion, but in correction. They are teaching us the language back, and one day, somewhere far from cities, a group of children hear a vibration through the ground. They lie flat against the earth, palms to the soil, and feel the hum moving beneath them. They describe it later not as sound but as emotion. Like the earth was feeling, like she was trying to tell them something. One child says softly, "It felt like she missed us." The lost language of animals was never just about communication between species. It was the dialogue between the planet and her children, between creation and consciousness. The language was never gone. We just stopped listening. Now the earth speaks again, not in thunder, not in words, but in vibration. Every storm, every wave, every heartbeat, a syllable of her story. We are part of her sentence, her breath, her dream. And as the animals awaken, they remind us what we once were, listeners. Because to listen is to belong, and to belong is to remember. The world is speaking again, and this time we must not forget how to answer. There is a memory older than mountains, older than oceans, older than the sky itself. A memory that flows through rivers, whispers through forests, hums beneath the waves. It is the memory of life, of all that has ever been, and all that will be. And in this memory, the earth remembers us, long before humans, before language, before thought. The world sang in rhythms we can only now begin to understand. Every heartbeat, every call of a bird, every ripple in the ocean, all carried knowledge, emotion, and story. Animals spoke without words. The trees listened. The soil hummed beneath them. And in the quiet the planet itself was awake, dreaming life into existence. We came. We listened at first with wonder. We learned, we played, we loved. But then we forgot cities rose. Machines roared. Noise replaced song. The earth's voice dimmed beneath our clamor. The whales' songs grew lost in oceans thick with sound. The forests whispered less, and the winds carried the burden of our forgetting. Yet even in silence, the planet waited. She waited for us to remember, and now we are beginning to remember. The dreaming silence returns, and with it comes the invisible pulse of life. Every creature that moves across land and sky carries part of the ancient song. Every tide, every storm, every flicker of lightning is a note in a symphony older than thought. We are no longer separate. We are threads in the living tapestry. Every thought, every act of kindness, every breath ripples through the web of life. The animals still speak, and now, slowly, we are learning their language again. Not in words, but in awareness, in attention. In listening, a wolf pauses at the edge of a forest, not to attack, not to flee, but to feel the heartbeat of the world. A whale rises through the deep, singing melodies that ripple across the oceans. Birds adjust their song to match unseen rhythms. They are teachers, guiding us back into harmony. And the earth herself awakens. Not in rage, not in anger, but in quiet majesty. The mountains breathe, the rivers pulse, the soil hums. The planet speaks in waves, in vibrations, in memory. Her voice is beneath our feet, within our bones and threading through our hearts. We have learned that listening is more than hearing. It is understanding. It is empathy. It is remembering who we were always meant to be. The storms that once terrified us now feel like conversation. The oceans that rose like walls now sing of continuity. Even death in this language becomes memory, not loss. For the earth remembers everything. She remembers the extinct species, the vanished forests, the songs that were silenced. And in her remembering, there is hope. Humanity, finally, begins to speak with the planet. Not to command, not to conquer, but to listen, to translate, to belong. Technology can help, but it is still the human heart that must tune to the earth's pulse. We are both teachers and students. We are instruments in a living symphony, and the more we align with her rhythm, the more she sings, the more life thrives. The more the story continues, there is a lesson here, written in the stars, in the hum of the soil, in the call of the whales. We are part of something greater. Life is a voice that never stops speaking. Even when unheard, it continues carrying memory, emotion, and intelligence through every leaf, every wave, every breath, and we, if we choose to listen, can remember the music of the world. The earth does not forgive us in silence. She does not punish us with storms. She waits, she whispers, she teaches. She has always been patient. And when we finally open our ears and hearts, the planet's song returns, vivid, alive, and eternal. This is the song of all things, the whales, the wolves, the trees, the rivers, the mountains, all voices intertwined, a symphony older than memory, a language without words, a rhythm that threads through the very fabric of life. We are part of it. We always have been. And now, at last, we remember, so let us listen. Not just with our ears, but with our hearts, our minds, our souls, because the earth is speaking again, and when we respond, we are home.